Welcome to another episode of 3 Men in a War Game. I'm your host with not quite the most, Kevin, and I've got with me Paul and Chris today. Say hi, gentlemen.
Hi, I'm Paul.
Hi, gentlemen.
Dick.
Hello.
Look, you set it up. I got to knock it down. I'm sorry.
AKA Potter. Sorry, I should be more respectful of the moniker.
Hey, look, there's too many Chris's in the world.
I hear you. I mean, that's why I go by Chop most of the time. So,
yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk quick about the world of hobby progress. I don't want to belabor too long because it is a little bit late for us as we record, and also we have a thing that happened and it disappointed my other plans. So I want to get into it as soon as we can.
Yeah, it's got to be talked about.
Yeah, and so I'll get into my hobby progress first. So as I say this, I'm pulling out my phone so that I can pull out my BG stats. And so what I'll tell you, in the year of our science 2024,
I am stealing that.
Love it.
I have played 115 games of Star Wars Unlimited.
Holy shit.
Woo!
49 games of Warhammer Underworlds.
Wow.
27 games of Flesh and Blood, which is low for me, but I'm actually picking that back up. And as of today, 9 games of Judgment Eternal Champions. And so those are the 4 games that sort of occupy my brain space.
I'm not gonna lie,
pretty heavily right now.
I thought the Judgment number would be higher. I know it's still new, but I still thought it would be higher.
Also, it would be 5 games higher. Were I not teaching in 5 of them?
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, all right. So
I will give you that pass.
I played 2 games on Sunday, this last Sunday. So yeah, and it's also pretty new, right? We've only been playing for a month. And some of that is just like a lot of talking and chattering and, and again, demoing, setting up the night, getting people out to play it, doing the thing.
Say the things.
So yeah, this is to say I have built quite a few models for Judgment Eternal Champions. Those models are resin, and the older resin is quite finicky. But it is what it is.
They look good.
It's like Malifaux style. They do. They look great. Incredibly good looking models. And I will start painting those. I've also painted a Warhammer Underworlds Warband. Still playing that, and then doing the Star Wars Unlimited thing quite a bit. So that's my hobby progress.
You want to go first, Paul? Or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, Bupkis.
All right, Paul, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm moving. So all my energy lately has been spent on moving. So I'll be back to it hopefully in 2 weeks when the move is done. And I'm all unpacked and everything. So that's me. There you go, Paul.
I don't have nearly the amount of games played as Chops. But I think for good reason. I was just looking at my board game stats, and I got a bunch of games in January and February, and then it's like you can track exactly where my dog died, and then the games trailed off.
Yeah,
but
man, it sucks
again,
so much.
Playing Conquest, I've been struggling a little bit with some of the painting on Conquest, the unit that I'm trying to finish right now. I'm not overly inspired by, and it's not, the sculpts are fine. It's just I don't know. They're like the one unit that has like metal parts, shields and whatnot, and I don't know, for whatever reason, I'm not enjoying painting that. And then with the mental overload of losing Roxy back in February, and then, what are we in June? So May, Titan got sick with the same stuff Roxy had. So basically taking care of him all month. But he got better. So that's a good thing. So painting hasn't been like, it's also not something my brain wants to wrap itself around. So I've been mostly building Gundam hobby wise. just so this way, it's the process more so than anything else.
Yeah, and I mean, it's still that good creative outlet too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something else to put your brain on, something else to focus on a little bit.
And what have I built? I've built 2 or 3 HGs, working on an RG. Oh, and then I built half of a PG because I'm working on the O riser, and I finished the riser part.
Yay!
Yeah, and tonight before we started doing this, I popped open the box for the suit, and there were so many springs I wanted to cry.
Yeah, that was me with Char's PG.
Well, all of the elbow, wrist, ankle, and knee joints are all spring operated.
Yuck.
Yeah, no bueno.
It'll be fun. We'll see how I do. Yeah. So that's mostly what I've been doing, is working on those things.
Then we shall kick it into the main topic of the pod, which I'm sure you've already seen it in the title of the episode. We're going to be talking about some breaking news in the world of tabletop miniatures. I think it's funny because I was like on a bunch of Games Workshop hobby focused discords today, and it was crickets. No one was talking about it at all. But like every other Discord is just like, oh my god, the sky is falling. Steamforged Games has acquired Privateer Press.
Yeah.
Which is just really funny that it's like almost an industry outside of the industry. It's insane.
Well,
Games Workshop is.
I mean, if we can we just stay on that for a second?
Sure.
It's and that's the way GW wants it, right? They don't refer to it as wargaming. They refer to it as the Warhammer hobby.
Yeah, I know.
So they want to be on the outside of that.
Well, it's so interesting too. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some people in those circles at the GW level that are like, hey, the guys that were almost going to kill us just, got bought out by someone else. So, because there was a time where Warmachine was really creeping up on Games Workshop. They really were.
Yeah, they were doing the thing. Yeah.
And it was scary for that company during that time.
This is a moment. To bring the adage, oh, how the mighty have fallen. But it's interesting because I don't even think of Steamforged as that big a company. So it's going to be an interesting thing to talk about. I think we have a pretty good layout for how to talk about this. But let's get to it in full here. So this is a Steamforged Games and Privateer Press merger. And what that looks like effectively is that Steamforged Games has purchased the rights to Warmachine, the Iron Kingdoms, and what appears to be most of the properties. So just to read through them, it's Warmachine, Formula P3, which is huge. I'm going to stop there for a second.
A lot.
Iron Kingdoms, Riot Quest, Warcaster, the Iron Kings role-playing game, the Mini Crate product line, Hordes, Company of Iron, and then we get down into the board game stuff, so Undercity, Widower's Wood, Grind, but then also High Command, and I'm assuming that Lock and Load refers to their tournament structure.
Yes, it is. Okay. That is that used to be their convention tournament championship kind of stuff. Yep.
Got it. Yep. So that's the stuff that they have
God, you said High
acquired
Command,
the
that
rights
just
to.
makes me upset.
Yeah, the card game, right?
Yeah,
That's what that is. Yeah. I know a little bit. Yeah, I've heard it was really good. It was like an LCG, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was a deck builder game.
Oh, it was so fun.
Oh, it was a deck builder.
Yeah, it was a deck builder. It was so much fun. And Privateer and I know I'm derailing, but a little bit, but just like my first TempleCon, which used to be Privateer Press's keynote convention before they started their own Lock and Load convention. I went there one year and they had a High Command tournament, and one of my friends signed up, and literally he was the only person that signed up.
Man.
It was such a letdown because there was no advertising, no marketing, and it was such a fun game. I really enjoyed it.
Well, now that you're talking about it, and I saw so many copies of it up at Ed McKay's that I'm like, maybe I should
I would definitely be invested in it and playing because I really enjoyed it. It was a lot
They
of
had
fun.
everything.
I mean,
They had everything.
Like, look, games are only as dead as we let them be, right?
Mhm.
Look at Netrunner, alive and kicking without official stewardship. Well, without corporate stewardship. But yeah, it's so yeah, if it's a good game and you enjoy playing it, I think you should still be doing it. Anyway, that's beside the point. Let's get into this thing. This does look to be a strategic partnership. I will say that reads that the word strategic partnership to me reads a lot like hostile takeover. Like when I read it, you like kind of think reading between the lines. I don't know that that's actually what's happening here, but we're going to find out more about it. So this is really going to be our knee-jerk reactions because we felt like we saw this news and we were like, oh my God, we got to get on the mics about this because it's just so big for like our podcast specifically with sort of the history of how this podcast started, right? You think Paul and I go back a long way playing World of Warcraft, but then Paul kind of got at me looking at Guild Ball and Malifaux, and that got me back into the hobby, and that kind of kicked back into this. And if we look at this announcement from that perspective, it's kind of momentous that the company inspired by Warmachine and made a game that got me back into miniatures in a big way is now purchasing the company that inspired them. It's kind of huge.
I mean, Warmachine's how Paul and I met. Like, that's how our friendship started, is what we just were in a slow grow league together for Warmachine. Like,
right. So this is a momentous.
Yeah, it was like these two companies
us.
touched all of us in some certain way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know that I even thought about that initially, but you're right. Like these are the two IPs that brought us together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct. 100% correct. So this is a really big deal. And reading through this, like it's hard to only have like 6 paragraphs of information. I'm like really hungry for more.
I was like, you're chomping out the bit over there, aren't you?
Yeah. I hear we're going to get more this week, but what we have is what we have. And so what we can do is what we do best, speculate wildly.
I'm all for it.
But to go with what they're saying here, right? It's a perfect logical fit for us. Almost every aspect of Steamforged history can be tracked to Warmachine in one way or another. So that's Rich Loxham saying that, and Matt Wilson saying we couldn't have asked for better custodians than Steamforged. Their track record, history with games, and genuine excitement for the future make them a perfect shepherd. I have some umbrage with that sentence, but for the most part, okay. It sounds to me, but what I'm optimistic for here is that there will be a lot of people from Privateer that keep their jobs, right? The thing that really scares me when I read a sentence about a merger or an acquisition is the layoffs that come with that from redundant positions. And I suspect that there are going to be administrative positions that just can't be avoided. The loss can't be avoided, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's probably true that a lot of the sculpting relationships, and I think most of what Privateer Press was doing at this point was they were contracting that work. And so it's possible that some contractors might get full-time jobs with Steamforged because I know Steamforged has a little bit more capital. It's also possible that their rule writers, will have a little bit more of a feeling of safety. And also all of the sculpting and tooling knowledge that comes with a company that has developed their own machining and 3D printing schemes. All that expertise will move to Steamforged, which I'm sure is part of what they're purchasing outside of the IP, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well, and that was like, there are a couple times where I read through that sentence and I feel like I've interpreted it differently every time. Like sometimes I read it and I'm like, cool, Steamforge's or, like Privateer Press is still a thing. And then other times I look at it and just the way, like, the whole custodians of the game, like, I feel like that's saying, like, we're done. These guys are just taking it over and doing whatever they need to.
Yeah, the custodians thing. Yeah, but the thing is that we have to remember is like that sentence. A lot of that is Matt Wilson officially stepping away, which
right.
I assume he's wanted to do for a long time, right? And if you think about Matt Wilson, what a career, right? started as a Magic the Gathering designer, moved to founding his own company, making one of the most competent miniatures rule sets that's ever graced the earth. So it's I'm not gonna fault the man for wanting to step back, or maybe just work on something that he's feeling more passionate about. You can only do something for so long, right? Like, we expect these people that make these games to just push on the same thing forever, when we ourselves, the people, generally are changing jobs every 2 to 5 years now. And it's ridiculous to assume that game designers can keep the same focus. And I think this is very true in both video games and tabletop games. We expect these people to make the same things over and over again and be perfectly happy going to the widget factory constantly. So I'm happy for Matt Wilson. I hope that he's getting an amount of money that allows him to be freely creative again. Anyway, that's beside the point. Or maybe part of the point.
No, I
can say it's part.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's pretty important, right? Like, it's got to be hard, right? Like, even if you're tired of it or whatever, or, you feel like, because I'm sure there's a certain point where, like, any CEO or founder, when things get rough, it's like, all right, you know what? I love this thing, and in order for it to actually survive, I need to step away from it. Like, it needs new
100%.
vision, it needs new eyes, and I'm not the person for it anymore. And I mean, he was for 20 years, right? How long was it that every, it was like, oh, is Warmachine taking over GW? Like, that was the
here's
competition.
The other thing. If you think about it, the most recent thing that we know that Matt really worked on was Warcaster, and all three of us read the Warcaster rule book, or at least have been exposed to the rules and understand how good that game is from a rules perspective, and how much Matt still has it. And to produce that game and then watch it kind of wither had to be crushing.
Yeah, COVID really killed that one.
Yeah, and I just really get why Matt Wilson would just want to step back. And so I'm really happy for him, and I hope that this is a good thing for him mentally.
Yeah. I think you can pull the parallel as well too from what's his name from Weird Games with Malifaux, like same kind of thing. I think it was it Justin when he left?
Well, Justin and then Aaron.
Yeah,
right?
So when they left, like, the other side, again, the same kind of thing, a big passion project, putting a lot of the time and investment
that's Aaron.
into.
Aaron.
That was Aaron.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, again, same kind of thing, the mislip of ME3 kind of overshadowing it, and then COVID and all this other stuff.
I forgot that's what fucked up the other side was somebody leaked that there was a M3E coming, and then everybody...
Yep, M3E really... Yeah, that announcement, or that leak really hurt the game a lot, because people just started focusing back on that.
The momentum shifted. Yeah.
So I mean, seeing your passion projects, like you finally have built yourself to a place where, like, there's this idea I've always wanted to be doing, and you've got the capital to do it, you've got the space to do it, you've got the designers to do it, you've got all this all your work is paid off, and you can finally do the one thing that you've wanting to do for years, and then just see it crumble. It's got to be gut-wrenching.
I mean, it was gut-wrenching for us, and we're just the players.
Yeah, I was like, I would quit my job if that's happened to me. I would 100%. I'd be like, peace, I'm out. I can't do this. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, and to shift back, right? So what we're trying to say here is that even though Matt's leaving, it does sound, and I'm going to hope that we're not seeing a mass exodus and firing from the privateer press. Again, there are going to be redundant positions. But we have to assume that there is some expertise that Steamforged is purchasing. Also, it's not just the IP, because the IP is just not as strong as it used to be. So hopefully, that's the thing. One of my biggest hopes is that we have a continuation of jobs and people are brought in, and part of it is that Steamforged might need an American arm, and like not having to go out and find people that have expertise and being able to just like open a Steamforged America office in Seattle might not be a terrible thing for them. So there's like all sorts of questions that I have, but that gets us into the way that Paul and I kind of like workshopped this. It was weird. We workshopped it like both symmetrically and asymmetrically, and it came out kind of interestingly. So what we're going to talk about is expectations, questions, and our biggest wishes that are going to come out of this. And this is the expectations and questions are where we're going to do the wild ass speculation, and then our biggest wishes are going to be the things that we really, really want to see come out of it. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm here for it. I full disclosure, I'm going in blind. I wanted
Yeah.
I wanted this discuss because Warmachine's such a personal thing for me. I wanted more of my raw reactions because this is a game I love.
Yes. And so we're going to start first with expectations. And so Potter, you can start thinking about those expectations that you have, but also, I want you to react to what we're saying here. And Paul, you got that first one there. And I do want to give you the space to talk about this. Mostly because I want to load the real bad feels and the bomb right up front here.
Yeah, that's exactly I put it on there to be funny, but I figured it would work. And that text
makes so much more sense to me now.
There is the way that Steamforged broke up Guild Ball is always going to bother me. I'm never going to forgive them for it. And I really hope that it's not the same thing with this, because I'm going to tell you, there is no way that you can logically write in an announcement that the release of Mark IV was electric.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, I don't. I just feel like it's the same kind of steps where it's like, graciously don't say anything. Because there's nobody. Yeah. There is nobody in the gaming community that's going to say, yeah, Mark IV. Because look, if it was electric, Steamforged wouldn't have picked them up.
Let me add to that. So we talked quite a bit about the Mark IV announcement here on the show, and talked about it. And Paul and I put models on the table. We got I think it was Gen Con preview models. I think Chops, I think you picked those up for us. Whatever it was. But, I mean, we put models on table. We played the rules. The rules were fantastic.
It was great.
It felt exactly how Mark II felt, with very much a lot of the things that were, issues that were clunky. Those things were removed. It finally felt like we're getting actual Warjack options and how the Warjacks function in the lore. And now we're getting to see it finally translated into the game, which for me felt a lot better, because I love it when the games start mixing, finding ways that are playable in the game to flesh that lore out that you read about and see it on the tabletop. I love that. And then the release happened. And I sat. And I sat. And I sat. And never got my Signar that I pre-ordered. I finally took my pre-order and talked to Noah, and it was like, I want to just buy all this Conquest stuff. Please and thank you. And I bought an entire Conquest army.
So rough.
And it was just
bad.
And what?
It's left a sour taste in my mouth since, and I've not the new Signar models. They just released the entire cavalry portion of the army. The cavalry. They've got chariots.
Your bread and butter.
I was just like, I can't get excited about it because I was so let down. I mean, the models were gorgeous. The 3D printing that they were using was just so good. Everything fit tightly. The magnets fit perfect in there. They had lightning in a bottle, and they just botched it so bad.
One of the things that I wanted to throw in there real quick is that all of that stuff that we were like, this is brilliant, this is brilliant, this is brilliant, is stuff that they took from Warcaster and said, all right, we came up with these great ideas. We need to incorporate this into Warmachine.
Because Warcaster is what I've always wanted Warmachine to be. Like, the magic
Forecaster's real good.
The
Boy, that
magic
rule set is tight.
Yeah. Customizing your magical abilities to the game that you're playing, that's how Warcasters work in the lore. Like, again, like I said, they had lore functioning rules, and they were good rules. I mean, we played 2, 3, games, 4 games of the new rule set, and again, it was smooth. It felt fun. I mean, you can ask Paul. Like, people just started asking questions, and I just started rambling off rules because like all the old rules came back into my head. Like it was like riding a bike. I was like, I'm back in my zone. This is my game.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't, in all honesty, if they didn't botch that release, we'd probably be playing it.
Yeah, I would never have gotten into Conquest.
Unreal. That's so sad to hear. Rough.
Yeah, it hurt.
All right. Yeah. All right. So another expectation. So Paul, the expectation from you, I'm hearing there is that you expect Steamforged to kill the game. God, I hope they don't.
I don't even know if it's necessarily that they're going to kill the game, but I feel like they're the masters of just blowing smoke up my ass.
Yeah,
they are.
And I feel like that's kind of how it started with that statement.
Yeah, the whole thing of like Matt Wilson saying that Steamforged is has a proven track record of delivering. I'm like, they killed Guild Ball. Dark Souls was a disaster of a release. I mean, I know since then they've gotten their track record back, but I'm like, it's not been all sunshine and rainbows. They have had a lot of bumps.
Yeah, God tier is
where's God tier?
Yeah, the game is on major league life support. Bard Sung came and went with very little fanfare. The things that they're doing though are really good role playing supplements. Tell you what, which we're going to get into that in a second. But anyway, they're also very, very good, and they've made some very good acquisitions and reprints in the board gaming space.
One thing I wonder is, did they get Monster Apocalypse in this?
No, that was not on the list.
We're gonna get to it.
Sorry. Remember, I'm again coming in raw. Don't know what's happening.
Yep.
My fault.
You're all right. So I think we're gonna see board game reprints and second editions. And so where I'm gonna come at this is that one of the Steamforged core competencies is in board game and plastic production expertise. They know how to do this. If you look at Resident Evil, if you look at Bard Sung, if you look at, God tier, right? Like all of these games that they've adapted into Dark Souls, like all of these games they've done into board games, they've got the plastic production part down. Mm-hmm. Like they have partnerships with board game manufacturers. They have delivered mostly on time and on promise in terms of like the quality of the materials that you're getting. And a thing that I'll say is that both Undercity and Widower's Wood, which are 2 Kickstarter board games from Privateer Press, both of those games were very well received. And I think with Steamforged know-how and marketing, they might be able to have successful second editions, even if they were to readapt the source material to something different or, D&Dify it or do whatever they're going to do. And they may not do that, right? They bought this IP, so they may stick with it. But I do think that those board games are very well thought of, and I think we're going to see new editions of them.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be good against that either for my aspect. I know that some of them were really good, and a lot of the card games that Privateer had out as well too were really fun as well.
Mm-hmm. The Alien ones were pretty good.
I like the Goblin Tinker one. I don't remember what it is, but you basically the premise of it was like you're building a machine. And it was I don't
remember either, Paul, but I don't see it. It's something 7, right? I don't see that in the list.
Code 7?
No, like Sector 7.
That's exactly what
I know which one you're talking about. Yeah,
I don't see it though. So another expectation that I have, though, is that we're going to get lots of Iron Kingdom's role-playing supplements. So I think if you look at what Steamforged has been doing a lot recently, so they've had, that whole series of epic encounters that they made.
Yes.
And they also now have this one, Local Legends, which is very similar to the epic encounters. It's just like smaller scale, but like, again, really cool miniatures. But I think we're going to see stuff like that.
Well, we are, though, because if you read through that article, it says something about the Iron Kingdom's Kickstarter going up like Friday or something like that.
Huh. Sure. But what I mean is, like, we don't know what that is, though, right?
Well, I mean, that's the role-playing game.
Well, the Iron Kingdoms, if you look, there's two separate things. There's the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game, and then there's Iron Kingdoms, which is the setting of Warmachine.
Right. No, but I thought it specifically said the RPG.
Yeah, I think my expectation after reading that was how I read it was the RPG game.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, Iron Kingdoms RPG
right.
Kickstarter for Strangelight Workshop will launch at the end of the month. More news
end of the
to
month.
come.
Yeah. All right, and so what I think, though, is that what we're going to see in that is we're going to see the expertise in scenario design by people like Sherwin, who, is the sort of writer extraordinaire at Steamforged, and then the plastic know-how and ability to get things out properly that Steamforged has, and I think we're going to see those things coalesce. I also think we're going to see some new Iron Kingdoms based board games that are conceptualized and designed by Steamforged.
Yeah.
Since Steamforged now has the IP and the know-how to get this kind of thing done. Because, one could say that like Bardsong kind of didn't do what it might have done because it didn't have any recognizable intellectual property to sort of
it was a new IP.
Onto. Exactly. And if market data has shown us anything since the pandemic, it's that all of us don't want original ideas anymore. We just want the same shit shoveled at us over and over again. And I say that with a lot of bitter sarcasm because I don't think that's true for me, but it does seem to be what people want.
So I'm with you, buddy.
It's what people want to buy.
Yeah. Slap Marvel or Star Wars on it, you'll sell it, right?
Exactly. Or just Disney or whatever. So another thing, though, that I think we're going to see is Steamforged step into the paint line or hobby product line. That's like a feather that has yet been put in their cap. And having a well-respected and loved line like Formula P3 come back, I think would be an easy win for them and probably easy for them to do.
I will buy all the cobalt blue that they produce.
Coal black, buddy. Coal black.
That's what I mean. Coal black. That's what I meant. Sorry, the coal black, not cobalt blue. Sorry, the coal black. That's what I meant.
Do you need some coal black? I have 7 pots.
I will
FedEx you a coal black, buddy. I'm not kidding. I bought so much.
I think I have 3 bottles. 2 or 3.
Good. Yeah, those of us who know, we know. And yeah, I've got my coal black. All right, which leads us to the question section of this. And the first question is, will coal black come back?
That was the very first thing I thought of was, are we getting coal black?
Yeah, are we getting P3 generally? It's not. It's
a fantastic paint line. It's what I painted with exclusively for years.
I still don't have a replacement for Frostbite, and when my pot of Frostbite goes down, I'm going to be so sad.
Such a good color too. It's what my Legion elves were painted in. Such a good color.
Yeah. I'm so sad. My pot's like I don't have like an eighth left maybe, and so I use it very sparingly for purple highlights and stuff now.
Time to get that paint thinner in there.
I know. Really stretch it out. So I'm hoping that we do get P3 back, and also P3 was one of those first, or one of the really iconic paint lines that no one wanted to see go. I don't really know why it became not as viable, but I think especially if they were to bring back the similar colors with like higher pigmentation, since that's kind of the trend right now with like Cuttlefish and
Army Painter just came out with the
Army Painter,
big
the
line.
Fanatic and Pro Acryl and all those things. Getting a line like that, like P3 colors with just a little bit more pigmentation in the suspension would be really cool. So I hope we're going to get that.
Take my money like Fry.
Yeah. So another question is back on the P3. Are we going to get some of the really great P3 hobby products back? So like
that is
the drill, the X-Acto knife,
the X-Acto knife. They're or probably hobby cutter since it's not X-Acto is the highest quality X-Acto knife I've ever used. It's comfortable to hold. It's solid.
Yeah.
Like X-Acto knives just don't have that weight, and I don't know. It's just a beautiful piece of machinery. Like it's just
it's a really good.
Yeah, it just
really
feels
good
right.
X-Acto handle. Yep. But also the pin vise.
The pin vise is probably one of their best hobby tools. I used all the time.
Yeah, so good. They're nippers.
All my pins that I use are still from P3.
I hate you.
Mm-hmm.
I hate you that I have them.
Yeah,
I want them.
So yeah, I hope that we get a lot of Formula P3 stuff back because a lot of that stuff is really great. And so my big question here, all caps, where the fuck is Monster Apocalypse?
All right, we're finally getting to my question.
It's a good question.
Yeah. So you want to know what my expectation here is? So that was my question, and I had to put it in one section, so I put it there because where the fuck is Monster Apocalypse is the question. But my expectation is that Mythic licensed Monpoc, and Mythic still holds the license because they probably purchased the license for a specific amount of time, which is why we don't see it. But I also think that Mythic may have soured the brand so much that it can never be relaunched.
And that is exactly the thought that I had, is that it got so fucked that it's just better to leave it and be done with it and not even mess with it.
I think. I just think we'll never ever see it.
Yep.
I've never played the game, and it wasn't something I was ever interested in. But I know a lot of you guys have. I mean, especially here too in our community, have put so much money into it.
So good,
yeah.
Fun game. Just I mean, it's everything you want, right? Like body slamming
really
monsters, toss them into buildings, and I mean, just every imagination that you could have for kaiju battle, it has.
A lot of the stuff from Warcaster came from Monpoc.
Yep.
Like the dice, a lot of the like physics and the way that stuff all interacts. Like, so yes, Monpoc, very sad loss.
Yeah.
Another question that I have is, will we see a reboot of Riot Quest?
I hope so.
Me too.
I never got into it, and I wanted to, and I was sad I missed out on it.
Something I'll say about Riot Quest is just like Monpoc in its current iteration, it was too expensive for the experience delivered. And also it was too expensive for the materials delivered. Like both of those things were true. And playing a game right now and enjoying a game right now that comes with luxurious components, and I feel like I got my full money's worth, it's making me think about what a company like Steamforged with sculptors like Russ Charles could do. Like imagine setting Russ Charles loose on Iron Kingdom's lore to be able to make miniatures for Riot Quest. Like, yes, please. I'll take 2. And I think that Steamforged knows how to produce plastic minis. I think they know how to produce chits and tokens and boards and neoprene. And they can do all of the things that would be required to make Riot Quest really work on the tabletop and have an effective and manageable path to purchasing, right? So it's not $50 for 5 metal minis, a paper mat, paper thin, crappy tokens. Like I think that they could really put some work in, get some plastic minis, get a really nice board, like a press, like a 4 or a 6 fold board game board that actually feels really nice and premium with some like UV spotting on it and good quality plastic miniatures. And I think they could really make Riot Quest work. So I hope Riot Quest comes back.
Yeah,
that's a question that I have.
That feels like that's 100% their wheelhouse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Big time. And also, they like funny stuff. Like look at Guild Ball, right? There's some humor ingested in that game, even though it's kind of a dark setting. And I think that Steamforged could really let loose on that. So Chris, do you have any questions? Like what's a question that's burning for you as a person who's coming into this raw?
My question is going to be just how are they going to rebuild the Warmachine brand?
What is going to happen with Warmachine?
It's suffered so much with Mark III, with Mark IV. Is it in
with
the place?
Plastics in Mark II?
Yeah, the plastics in Mark II were just bad. Even though the great thing is that it was a slick and good rule system. It had Steam in Mark II. It's just I'm worried if it's in the same place that you guys are thinking Monster Apocalypse is in. Is the IP so damaged that we won't ever get to see Warmachine as it was, and Steamforged has to go a new route?
No. One of my biggest wishes, I think, I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't think you're looking at the document, and I think
no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm purposely not looking at the document.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest wishes will make you happy to hear as a thing that at least I can't imagine they're not thinking about. But I think that Warmachine in its current iteration with the 3D printing and with what we know Steamforged can do in resin and what we knew that they can do in plastic production, I do think that the promise of Mark II plastics could actually be delivered by Steamforged.
Right. Because Privateer was delivering that promise with the Mark IV new models.
Yeah, but it was 3D printed and expensive.
Correct.
And I think that with some mass market know-how and some faith from the community and with some rebuilding efforts, I think that mass production, because I think I went and I looked and I think I saw the price of lead is like it's like $22 a pound right now. Oof. So we're not getting metal miniatures back, right? This is why Corvus Belli is shifted away from pewter. Or sorry, the price of pewter, right? And so I think the reason we're not going to get back to metal minis because the price of metal is just way too expensive and it's prohibitive. But I think that Steamforged has what it takes to do plastics. Be it that I think the 3D printing is still maybe too expensive, but if they can get some good machining and they can make this work and they can pare down the range, at least initially, to start rebuilding, I think they can, with the Mark IV rule set, start to support the models and get some real action in Warmachine, because there are a lot of disillusioned Games Workshop players right now. And this is a known company and this is going to be huge news. So people are going to be thinking about it and people who are going to be curious, right? I'm going to be curious. I think if I knew I was going to get Steamforged plastics with those Privateer Press rules, I think I'd eat that right up.
Yeah. So everything that you're just saying, it sparked something to me. So like one of the big things, obviously, that was a complaint about Mark IV, and I think it's a valid complaint, is that, they getting away from the old SKUs because of SKU bloat and, just starting fresh and doing things this differently. With what you were saying about their ability to potentially give us that Mark II promise with the plastics, I'm wondering if they could do Steamforged could do something very much like Corvus Belli did with their Code 1 releases and reducing that SKU bloat, but at the same time letting players still be able to play with their models and not have to, choose of playing a legacy tournament format or what they want to play for current tournament format. Could Steamforged make it so I can still keep my Beast 09 and it's relevant?
Mm-hmm.
It's got me thinking.
And I thought it just hit me. It wasn't Sector 7. It was Level 7. That was really. Yeah, it hit me like a bolt of lightning while you were talking, Parker. Sorry.
Oh, no. It's fine. I actually remember I was at the keynote for that game. They announced it.
It's just like I just like boom, boom. The like box art for Level 7 Escape hit me like a bolt of lightning.
Nah, it's good, man. We all had ADHD. We have those moments.
Well, I know. And sorry to interrupt there, but Paul, do you have any questions that you have that we haven't covered already?
I mean, I think Chris nailed the biggest thing, which is they have a shit ton of work ahead of them to bring this game back, if that's their intention. Part of me wonders, are they more interested in the other things?
I think so. That's why I'm saying this in questions and not expectations. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's much more likely that we'll get something, and we'll move into the biggest wishes part here, so we don't go too long in the tooth on this whole subject before we have more concrete details. So Paul, why don't you start, because you've got a real big wish here, buddy.
I know, right? I want Warmachine to be what it once was, right? I want it to be, and I know it never will be, but I want it to be that game that was giving GW a run for its money, right? Like
so
like GW is the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and Warmachine was the 400-pound gorilla, and I want that back.
Yep, 100%.
So here's what I'll say. AMG has taken that spot, right? And AMG is actually like the 600-pound gorilla right now. But I do think that Warmachine deserves to be there. I think as a rule set, it deserves to be there. It does not deserve the sort of fate that it's been resigned to at this point. And so I think that's a noble wish, even if maybe a little impossible. At least from the seat today, right? 5 years from now, we might be happily going on assassination runs.
God, I hope so.
Super stoked about it. Yeah, I know. And so I hope it does happen. But here's one of my biggest wishes. So we already covered one of them. And so one of them was Riot Quest Mark II. And I'm going to put it in the PP styling because that's how I'd want it. So Riot Quest Mark II would be so sick. I would love that. But my biggest big wish, and if I could have anything from this partnership, what I want more than all of the things is a re-released and reinvigorated Company of Iron in plastic faction boxes like God Tier. So for those who don't know, Company of Iron was like a very small skirmish version of Warmachine. So no warcasters, but just like the grunts. And I think that they could do a thing, and it doesn't even have to be Company of Iron. It could actually be Warmachine, right? It could be like a warcaster, a warjack, and then like a solo and one group, like one unit. And they could make a format where like the box that you buy is like the force that you get to play a small scale, like 3x3 Warmachine game in.
Basically what you're asking for is what the video game was supposed to be, and you just want it on tabletop, because that's exactly how the Warmachine video game played. It was one caster, one, like a few jacks, and like one infantry dude, of a type going along with you.
Yeah, I would love that. That's what I want. Like, my biggest wish is that we get something like that. And how would you guys feel as like former Warmachine players?
I'd play the heck out of it
like that.
I'd play the heck out of it. I mean, I kickstarted the video. So full circle. Warmachine is the reason why I don't like Kickstarter, because that Kickstarter was horrible.
Oh, that what a
for
mess.
the video game. Yeah, it was.
I got some cool stuff out of it though.
Yeah, I got
the
my
minis
names
were
in
nice.
the credits of the game, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, the premise behind the game was a lot of fun and interesting. And if it just wasn't a horrible mess to play, it actually would be a fun game. It's just too glitchy and buggy. So yeah, I would love to see that on the tabletop. Just running around, maybe even just a Jack Marshall with the 1-2 small jacks, and just like a company of an intermixed Storm Knights with some sort of trenchers. It'd be great. I would love it.
I mean that's what Company of Iron's supposed to be. Not the jacks, right? But like the Warmachine rules, but on a smaller scale and on a 2x2. Man, it just feels like such a good fit for what Steamforged is already doing. That it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility for them to be able to deliver that. And it's very clear from Steamforged's DNA that they do want to be able to have a place in the miniature war game hobby. That's like where they come from. And there has to be a path back to Warmachine, and I don't think it's just like slamming right into Mark IV. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like releasing new products into the market, I just don't think that's the way that they're going to get it done. And I think they have to earn trust back, and it's not easy to do. And I think they can't afford to take huge risks on it. So if we look at it from the perspective of what we know they're going to do, which is like the role-playing stuff, probably some board games, probably the paint line. We know the things the things we know they're going to do. I think the thing that they can do that's taking a little bit of risk and getting their toe into making products for Warmachine, this feels like something they already know how to do. They've already got box sizes. They know how to do marketing materials for these box sizes. So for the Epic Encounter box size and for the God tier box size, they know how to do this. And so, I mean, they've got like the expertise in machining. They know how to do the packaging, and shipping, the logistics, all that stuff. They have it. And so, and I want to say Epic Encounters, right? Because those Epic Encounters were, you were like $40 to $60, and they were shipping with 14 to 19 models, which is the kind of thing that I'm talking about here, and a mat too, right? And so we're not talking about something that's off the range of what they're already doing and where their core competency lies. And so that's why I'm setting as my biggest wish, because I don't know that they are going to do it, but I think it is certainly in their wheelhouse too.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I haven't seen much of their plastics recently, since I stepped away from Guild Ball. But the plastics that they were coming out with for that outside of the 2-player starter set, for a lot of the the minor league, I don't remember if they were minor league. I don't remember what they called them, but the smaller teams, like the Blacksmiths and the
I know the Falconers, the Rat.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't remember a lot of
Cooks.
A lot of those Navigators. That's the one I was trying to think of. A lot of those sculpts were fantastic, and it felt like they were for them starting to dip their toe into plastic with those. That was something almost 10 years ago at this point in time, maybe.
We're way over the top of that now.
Yeah.
The modern stuff, the modern Epic Encounters and the modern local legends. So you should go to Steamforged site and look at the local legends. That's their newest RPG supplemental stuff. They're basically what it is it's a D&D boss fight in a box. And so you get the miniature for the boss and all that stuff. And so they're really well-designed products. And the sculpts and the plastics are extraordinary, way better than what WizKids is doing with the official D&D stuff. More expensive, to be sure, but better. And the scenario design is great. Anybody who played the Animal Encounters box set knows that those scenarios are really well done. Again, I'll go to Sherwin Matthews as being a very charming writer. He's got a very good style. And anybody who read the Guild Ball fluff also knows that, to be sure. And so I think that that's definitely stuff we're going to see is those RPG supplements. But I just mean it in terms of like the machining, right? They've got it. They know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all out of gas, fellas.
Yeah. I guess we're doing final thoughts. I was going to jump into one, but go ahead. Sorry.
No. What's your biggest wish? We got it. We got time.
Well, I mean, my biggest wish again is for Warmachine to come back, and that's really like that's my final thought too. Is that I just want this to work, right? Like
yes.
I almost feel like at this point, like Warmachine is that cousin that you have that you love and grew up with, but they've kind of fallen on hard times, but maybe they're getting themselves back up, and you're just rooting for them. That's how I feel about it. Like, as much as, and I was going to throw this in before when you were talking about like goodwill, right? Like, with the way Mark III and Mark IV went, yeah, Privateer Press needs goodwill, but then also with the way Guild Ball ended, Steamforged needs some goodwill too. So there's going to be challenges for that. But I really, as much as, I always talk shit about Steamforged, I really want this to work. I really, really, really want this to work.
So here's what I'll say. Steamforged let me down with Guild Ball. I think there were probably some financial motivations for letting the game go. The excuses that they gave never really gelled with my understanding of reality. What this is leading me to say is that they have let me down, but I don't know that they've ever failed to deliver a promise to me. And I mean that in terms of all of the Kickstarters that I backed from them have delivered. They have been what they said they were going to be. The miniatures have been good. I mean, the rule sets have not always been great. Resident Evil 2, I'll stand by. That's a really good game made by Steamforged. And I guess Resident Evil 2, though. I don't know. I haven't played Resident Evil 3, the board game, but I'm assuming it's like the other two, and the other two are really good. But God Tier is great. And though they haven't released as much God Tier as we would all like, they delivered that Kickstarter and they kept supporting the game through the pandemic. So I'm walking into this with clear eyes. I have very low expectations. But yes. Sorry, you caught me out with that. But I'm also I have high hopes, right? My final thought that is that I have very low expectations because I don't know that I fully am invested and seeing and knowing that this can work, right? It's just is a very out of nowhere, and I'm still coming to grips with this as being the reality of the industry. But I have high hopes that Steamforged can make it work, and I really hope they do it. I really hope they pull it off. So that's me.
You're a lot more hopeful than I am. I don't know. I don't want to be negative. We all try to make sure that we don't. But the problem with me right now is that I feel since Mark III, that Warmachine is that toxic relationship that I have finally gotten away from. And as much as I wanted to succeed because I love the IP, I love the world, I want people to have their game back. I don't know. I'm of two minds on it. I want it back, but at the same time, like, I finally got out of that abusive relationship, and I'm not hurt anymore when they fail me.
Hey, I have a lot of respect for that. And you found something right now, a more positive relationship in the industry with another company, another game, right? So,
I mean, it's a different company. So it is Steamforged, but Steamforged has let me down as well too. Guild Ball was a huge kick in the nuts.
Yep. Yeah. Big letdown. Like I said, they haven't ever failed on a promise, but they've definitely let me down.
Yeah. So those are my final thoughts. So, I want it to be successful for everyone involved. Like you said, I don't I don't want anyone to be laid off. I don't want anyone to lose their job. I want this to be a good thing for everybody. But at the same time, like it hurts.
All right. So a thank you to our patrons. You guys are great. We appreciate you and your patience always, and your never-ending support in our Discord. And that leads us into the Discord. Please join said Discord. It's really great. We always love to see new faces. We've got some new folks moving into Madison. And so the activity from those new folks has been great. We also have a lot of discussion around Judgment, and hopefully we can get Potter and Paul in there talking about Conquest a little more to get that hype train a-rolling on Conquest. And there's also a lot of stuff about lots of stuff. We had a really cool discussion today in the Discord about World War II games like Bolt Action and COC. Mm-hmm. So definitely come in and check it out. And then thank you to Static as a City for the music and the intro and the outro. And I think that is everything. So bye.